Numbers on a sheet of paper fail to describe how Rolls-Royce continues to make the best cars on the new market. Nor will sitting in the cabin and looking at the features. You might think to yourself, wow, this doesn't have active lane keeping or a rear view camera mirror. I can get those things from my nearest Chevrolet dealer. But what the Rolls-Royce manages to capture is your attention and your desire. From outside the car, from behind the wheel, from the back seats, from when it pulls out of a garage or pulls up at a valet stand. There's something special about every interaction you have with a Rolls-Royce. Whether you're walking down the street, whether you're driving the vehicle, whether you're being driven, whether you're being picked up, dropped off, it doesn't matter. Every little aspect of this Cullinan feels special, and it feels above every other vehicle you've been in. Opening the thick doors, getting out and viewing the beautiful silvery gray paint, watching the soft closed doors close, coming out and starting to see the massive 22-inch wheels and the styling that is really unlike any other vehicle. There's something about it that while it manages to have a presence and look unique and sharp and sparkly, at the same time there's a subtlety to it that doesn't capture everyone's attention right away, but almost requires a double take and being like, oh wow, that's a Rolls-Royce that just passed me. That's incredible. The amount of times that we've been driving this car around for this past week and had someone come up to us and say, that's the Rolls-Royce SUV. I've never seen one of those. That's incredible. That's the type of interaction you want to have. You don't want that immediate showiness where people are whipping out their phones. You want more of that second reaction recognition of, oh, this is something important. This is a big deal, and it absolutely is a big deal. This 2022 Rolls-Royce Cullinan is the most special vehicle we've had here at Daily Motor, and we've been absolutely privileged and honored to get to spend time with this car for Alyssa's and my wedding. It was the perfect vehicle for a Northern Michigan country club experience, a beautiful June weekend up in Harbor Springs, and I could not think of any more perfect vehicle than this Rolls-Royce Cullinan to take us through that experience, to make everything about that weekend just so much more special. And that's the thing, when you're stepping up to something like the Rolls-Royce, it's because you want that extra degree of special. It's because you know that nothing else will do. There's no comparable model. There's nothing to cross shop when you decide that a Rolls-Royce is right for you. It's not a matter of, oh, this car provides a little bit of this and that, and I could get it for a little bit better deal with some other brand. No, you're getting a Rolls-Royce because you know that there's nothing else you want to compromise on. You want the engineers and the designers to have come together and have never had the conversation of, well, it would be a little too expensive to do X or do Y, or I don't know if we can justify this. No, you want every little bit of stitching on your doors to be perfectly finished in with the rest of the car. You want every little bit and piece of design to have been customized for your liking and to make a vehicle that is perfect for you. You want to get into the back seat and you don't want to have to close your own door. You want to press the door button and hear the sealing of this thick door with remarkably quiet double-pane windows so that you can get in and be driven around and feel serene. You want to reach down to your air vents and hear solid metal as you turn them toward you and adjust right where the air should be flowing. And when you adjust your fan speed, you don't want numbers. No, you want off, soft, medium, high, and max to dictate how hard you want the air blowing on you. You want incredible amounts of knee room and leg room and ultimate comfort when you're being driven around in the back seat with your plush headrest pillows. And you want to look up and see a starry night sky as you drive around. In fact, we were being driven in the back of this, me and Alyssa, while Chris Brower was driving, and every now and then a shooting star would come by in the LED night sky screen here. It was really quite impressive. As you can see, maybe a little bit in the daylight here, these lights coming through, but at night it really is bright. It's a really cool experience. We actually ended up dimming the stars, which you can do here. Pretty incredible. While a lot of people will be driven around in their Rolls Royce Cullinans, there is also a pretty incredible driving experience to be had up front. So, should you not need your Rolls Royce umbrella on a day like today, and slide it back in there. Close the rear door, which you could either do manually, like a scrub, or simply with the touch of a button. Allow the door to close itself. Step into the front, and again be greeted with, as I've been saying, the most premium aspects in every sense of the word. Every little control you're going to make and touch and feel feels right. It's ergonomic, it's intuitive, and it's premium. Down to little things, like when you open the doors, they're magnetically controlled so that every little bit you open or close, you don't have to settle for a certain notch that the engineers have prescribed for you. No, if you only want to open the door this much out of a parking spot, the door is going to hold that much. It's those little details. It's the more time you spend with the car that you realize, yeah, I get it. You start up the massive and incredibly powerful 6.75 liter V12 engine that you barely hear running because it's so smooth and so nicely designed. Get a little air onto us. What do you know? Physical controls for everything. Volume, track control, climate control. It's almost as if going digital, like the way of the Mercedes S-Class, is not what people really want. It's not. When you're spending unlimited amounts of money on a vehicle, you realize that you want physical controls. You want the ease and ability in which to manage your vehicle. Oh my gosh, pulling out on these roads that we drive regularly, week in and week out on all these daily motor test drives. Every little bump is I almost use the word magically, organically, but it is interpreted through Rolls-Royce's magic carpet ride to make it virtually unnoticeable that you're gliding along the road. And there's just the right degree of floatiness but damping at the same time to make it so the bumps are filtered out, but you don't feel like you're out of control. It's a very controlled damping and smoothness to the ride and to the experience and to the driving from behind the wheel. There's also so much to be said for looking out and seeing not only the Spirit of Ecstasy there, but also the immense hood reaching out and almost reminding you every time you look out to drive the car that you're in something important, that you have an air of importance around you. We've been lucky enough to spend hundreds of miles in this car and many, many hours driving it in a lot of different situations and scenarios. Not once have I felt this car shift gears. Only when I was full throttle on it, mostly for shooting winding road videos, frankly. It's not necessarily that you feel the shift, it's just that you're aware that the shift is happening simply because you're hearing the engine rev out and then rev back down to shift to the next gear. But there's none of that grabbing you, and especially as I pull out onto this 55 mile an hour road, the throttle tuning is so precise as to not rock the cabin whatsoever, and torque is uninterrupted. It's remarkable. It's amazing how well this transmission and engine are tuned together. And here we are at 55 miles per hour. Butter smooth ride. Remarkably quiet. I think that's right there. That you can't put down on a sheet of paper that this car is quieter than just about anything else, any other SUV on the market. You don't get to quantify those things. I mean, yes, you can hold up a decibel reader on the same stretch of road against all the same sort of vehicles and competitors and compare, but you don't really appreciate what a decibel readout means until you're behind the wheel, until you're sitting there with your loved one having a conversation about the day, and you realize you can do it so softly, and that the driving experience, the roads, the problems of outside are distant. They're out there. They're not in here. In here is serenity and is peace. And when you're having that conversation, it's all enhanced. It's all better when you're in a car like this. Now, I do need to at least point out that Rolls-Royce equipped the dynamic package to this Cullinan. So, should you choose, bury your foot to the floor, see that power reserve meter go to 0, and be rocketed up to speeds that you don't even realize you're doing because it's so smooth. Take the wheel, and the sharpness of the cornering is just uncanny for a vehicle of this size. And I accelerate this way into guardrail, and I'm doing speeds that are just so impressive for a vehicle this size. Come in, the steering is still so light, but you can still place a vehicle like this right where you need it to. And all of these bumps, again, that we regularly drive on the DM test route, just filtered out. I can't help but think that it would be just that much quieter and smoother without the dynamic package. I assume these Continental tires that we have on here are a little bit sportier because of that dynamic package and probably transmit just a little bit more noise. But those are really huge bumps over there that not even an issue for the Rolls. Motivate the car up to 60 and a little brake test. This is incredible. This vehicle stops quicker than cars of half its weight. And then, of course, we'll launch it. Wow. It's not about the numbers. It's about being in a vehicle that's this smooth, serene, and then having it accelerate that quickly. It really goes to show what happens when engineers and designers and an entire team set out to make a vehicle that's no compromises. I know that if I wanted to take a left back there onto the off-road route, which I hope you can understand why I'm not going to do, but I know that I could press this off-road button, the air suspension would raise the vehicle up, and I would be able to traverse through mud and hills and terrain that no other luxury vehicle could do, and do it in such an amazingly capable and comfortable and confident way. I've been in this car for a week, and I'm still continually impressed by its engineering, by its abilities. Here's a perfect example of how impressive this car is without seeming that way on paper. It has the premium 16-speaker sound system, which means it's not the top level, it's not the bespoke Rolls Royce audio system, but 16 speakers, 600 watts. You read that, and you think to yourself, there are cars at an eighth of this price that have sound systems that look more impressive on paper. But this is one of the most, if not the most impressive sound system I have ever heard in a vehicle. But it's not showy. The speaker grills are unlabeled. They're simple. The subwoofers are below my seat. There's not some huge banging woofer in the trunk. But yet, one of the best sounds I've ever heard come from a vehicle. Now, part of that is because this is so calm and quiet at highway speeds that you can hear extra elements in your sounds and in your music that you would never hear in another vehicle because it would be drowned out by road and engine noise. But you have to experience it. You have to almost trust. It's a trust exercise in putting your faith into the designers and the wonderful people at Rolls Royce to make a vehicle sound this good and work this well, even if you go, 16 speakers, that's nothing impressive. No, it is, trust me. Let's let this get motivated up to 70 here. Even though this is a remarkably loud concrete highway, compared to the other vehicles we drive on this road, it's incredibly quiet and refined, floating me over the bumps. I hope you can at least even just hear it in my tone of voice, the fact that there's no encouragement for me to be speaking loudly or excitedly. There's a calmness to the way I'm speaking to you, and it's because I don't feel like I'm having to talk over any element of the car. I'm just having a conversation with you right here. I find myself wondering an interesting question, and it's one that I can't necessarily answer because, admittedly, I'm not in the place of a Rolls Royce buyer. But I wonder, it seems to me that this is not an aspirational vehicle. This is a vehicle that says, I've made it. It's not something that someone looks at and thinks to themselves, oh, in 2 years, I'm going to be able to afford X. Like, I'm going to work toward this car. The Rolls Royce, the Cullinan in particular here, but really any Rolls Royce model, says, no, I've already made it. It's something you purchase when there is no making the budget work. There is no cross-shopping. There is no trying to justify, should I get this or would it be better to get something else? No. You buy the Cullinan when it's not even a question. It's, I am at the point when it's the best or nothing. There's no reason for me not to buy the best SUV that's on the market right now. And that's why you choose the Rolls Royce Cullinan. Is the best is a no-brainer. It's when it's always first class. It's always top tier. It's the best or nothing. And that is the Rolls Royce Cullinan. So it's not about the features this car has or its abilities or its numbers or anything of that. It's knowing that when it's time to have the best car, you better have RR speckled over it. So thank you all so much for watching. Let's hop out and take a look one more time at this as I start and stop the vehicle from the left side and open up these heavy solid doors and take one more look at this beautiful design, a design that really isn't picked up well on a screen or in a photo, but when you see it, the dimensions and the proportions and the aspects just really speak. I'm still impressed. I really am. And I hope that anyone in the position that, again, it's not a question for you what car to get. It's, I need a new car and only a Rolls Royce will do. And now they have an SUV for you to fit your SUV lifestyle. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to Rolls Royce for giving us this most special vehicle on our most special day. It was truly memorable and remarkable. And thank you all so much for supporting us. Of course, we're going to have all the videos on this car, the sound system test, and a lot of other coverage. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.